Hey everyone, welcome to It Tastes Different Gaming Appetizers. And what are we talking about tonight? Well, Sony had their Sony Showcase. So we're going to go over everything that was announced and, maybe talk about what we're interested to see and, what we thought about the showcase overall. So I'm going to go over the list of games that they announced during and showed off during the showcase. So we'll just start with that because it's a pretty long list. So we're just going to go through these and then we'll kind of go out from there. So the first one they showed off was Fair Games. It's a new payday-like shooter from the Assassin's Creed lead. Ghost Runner 2 is coming back for another Ghost Runner game. They showed off Helldivers 2. Now, I never played the original Helldivers, but apparently it got pretty good reviews when I looked it up last. But I never played the original, but they're making a second one, so cool. Immortals of Elvium. I think that's how you say it. I don't know. It's like a magic, kind of like first-person shooter, but you use magic instead of guns. It looks kind of interesting. Phantom Blade Zero. Now, this one looked really cool when they showed this one off. This one's kind of like a samurai, as Pat put it, like Elden Ring meets Ghost of Tsushima type thing. I'm not sure, but it looked really cool. So it looks like that one might be something to keep an eye out for. Sword of the Sea. Sword of the Sea is made by, I believe it's made by the people that made Journey, and the other game that the people that made Journey made. I can't remember what that one was called, but it almost looked, I thought it was Journey 2 when I saw it, but it's actually called Sword of the Sea. I don't know if it follows the sea, because the character in the trailer looks like the main character from Journey, so it looked like it to me anyway. The Talos Principle 2. So I never played the first one, but I think that one I think a lot of people liked that one. So Neva. This was the next game from the creators of Gris. So I played a little bit of Gris. Gris is very like kind of like a platformer, action platformer type game. It's very like artistically styled as far as the graphics and things like that go. But this is their second game, or their next game, I should say. Cat Quest, Pirates of the Caribbean. This looked it's an adventure game. It looked cute. Probably not something I'll play, but whatever. Foam Stars. Foam Stars is Square Enix's call to Splatoon. It looked like Splatoon. It looked like it almost played like Splatoon, but instead of little octopus characters that you play in Splatoon, you're playing anime, waifus, and you're spraying foam. That's pretty much it. Instead of paint, it's foam. And we're in an anime setting. That's pretty much the gist. So, if you're a big fan of Splatoon, you might like Foam Stars. I don't know. I think they're just trying to jump on the whole Splatoon bandwagon, it seems. The Plucky Squire. The Plucky Squire, that looked kind of neat. So basically that one was like, it's probably not something I'll play, but it's like basically it looked like a comic book, like you're on paper and everything's like kind of 2D flat, but then you can jump out and then everything's 3D outside of it. And you're like in a bedroom and you can like go through and like the quest to defeat the evil is on the page and outside of the page, and you kind of go through the room and through the page and things like that to complete your quest. It was a neat looking concept, but probably nothing I'll play. Teardown. Teardown was it's like a heist game where it was very interesting because it didn't seem like you had, if this was the one I'm thinking of, didn't seem like you had characters, but you could break through anything. Like the destruction was cool and you could like basically pilot things and everything like that. But I don't know. We'll just have to see, because it kind of like graphical wise almost looked like Minecraft in a way, but a little bit more densely pixelated than Minecraft. I don't know. We'll have to see if that ends up being anything worth a dang. Metal Gear Solid Delta or Triangle or whatever. Snake Eater 3, they showed that off. It was a quick snippet of just the jungle and then Snake, and then that was it. And then Metal Gear Solid Volume 1 Master Collection. That's also coming out, which is the first 3 Metal Gear Solid games, including the original 2 from the NES. But the first 3 on PlayStation: Metal Gear 1, Sons of Liberty, and then Snake Eater, along with the Snake Eater remake that they're making. Right, that's going to come out later, I would assume. I'm assuming this Master Collection is probably going to be coming out soon-ish. They showed off Towers of Agazba. I think that's how you say it. I don't know. It's a prehistoric survival game full of critters. I don't know. I don't remember that one. That's how great that one probably looked to me, because I don't remember that one whatsoever. Final Fantasy 16. They showed that off. That looks great. That's coming out soon. So I'm really excited about Final Fantasy 16. Hope it ends up being awesome. They showed off Alan Wake 2 gameplay of that as well, and that looks really great. So looking forward to Alan Wake 2. They showed off Assassin's Creed Mirage. I think there was gameplay of Mirage, and that looked like Assassin's Creed. Revenant Hill. I don't remember what Revenant Hill is. Maybe these guys, once we get into them, they can clarify what Revenant Hill was. But I remember that one being shown off, but I don't remember what it was. Grand Blue Fantasy Relink. That's following the Grand Blue anime game thing they have going on. I think that's an anime too as well. I'm sure it probably is. I don't know much about it. It looked kind of neat, but Street Fighter 6, which is coming out here soon. So they just showed off more Street Fighter 6. Ultros is like a loop-based adventure game. Don't remember that one. Tower of Fantasy. They showed Tower of Fantasy off, which is weird because Tower of Fantasy is already out. And it's a mobile game, but I think you can also play it on Steam, and maybe it's just coming to PlayStation now. I thought it was already on PlayStation, but maybe it's just coming to PlayStation now. It's a gacha game, very much like Genshin Impact and Honkai, or whatever that one is, Star Rail, whatever it's called. It's Honkai. I don't know, Honkai. It's not a redneck version. They showed off Dragon's Dogma 2. So finally, Capcom decided to finally make another Dragon's Dogma. About time is all I have to say on that. Five Nights at Freddy's Help Wanted 2. So if you're a Five Nights at Freddy's fan, you like the Help Wanted 1, then they're making a second. Resident Evil 4 Remake is getting the PSVR 2 treatment. They also showed off Arizona Sunshine 2 for PSVR 2, as well as Crossfire Sierra Squad on PSVR 2, Synapses, and Beat Saber, all PSVR 2 games. Beat Saber is already on the PSVR, but now it's coming to the PSVR 2. Bungie showed off Marathon. They are bringing back Marathon. Marathon was the original game that Bungie made, but this one is not, based. It's not what the original was. The original was kind of like a Doom knockoff kind of game, first-person shooter. This is like a PvP shooter. They say PvP looter shooter, is what I've read online, but it's probably going to just be like a PvP. Basically, they decided to take Destiny's Crucible and bring it into its own separate game and call it Marathon. That's what they did there. Destiny 2, The Final Shape. That's where, that's I guess a new expansion. I don't know if it's a new expansion or if it's just added on to the last expansion. Maybe it's like a new season or a new piece of content coming out for it. I'm not 100% sure, but it looks like they brought Cade back. He's not back from the dead, but he's in some sort of limbo. They decide to pay him his the money, the actor, to come back and reprise his role. So that was a good idea. I mean, it was stupid for Bungie to kill off Cade because that was a character that a lot of fans like. So of course they're going to bring it back because they're like, oh, this will make money. We'll bring him back. Concord. Concord is actually the first game. They didn't really show off much of this. This was like some people going through space. It really didn't say anything about Concord or what it was. But this is actually the game coming from Firewalk Studios. So if you watched the video that I did talking about how Sony had acquired Firewalk, this is the game that they're working on, Concord. We don't know anything about it. The trailer didn't tell you anything about it. But that's the game. And then they ended showing off Spider-Man 2. So Spider-Man 2 looked great. So I'm excited for that one. It looked really good. They had like 10 minutes of gameplay. Looked great. Looked awesome. Yeah. And then, of course, they also showed off their handheld, which we'll talk about at another time. But they showed that off. PlayStation is making a handheld. But you want to know the specifics and the kind of ins and outs of what it is, you'll have to stay tuned to another video of ours. But we're going to, but that's basically what they showed off. So as far as the conference goes altogether, it was okay. Like there were some parts that were good where I liked some of the games they were showing off, and there were other parts where I didn't care as to what was being shown off. If this is what Sony has to show this year around, I mean, there's some great games coming out. Don't get me wrong, but usually for these, this is kind of like this was their E3, showcase, as far as I know, right? And so usually we get like huge hits and huge announcements. And some years we do get this, right? Where we don't get those huge hits. We get like some games that we know are coming out. Like the biggest game they had to show off there really was Spider-Man. Other games they showed off and stuff were really cool and some awesome games, but a lot of them we knew were coming, right? It was just showing more of games that we already knew were on the way. Really, even though we knew Spider-Man was on the way, we hadn't seen Spider-Man since its initial announcement, which was just a CG trailer showing that Spider-Man 2 was coming. And now we get to see actual gameplay and how Spider-Man's going to be working out. Like I said, there were some other cool games, and a lot of them we already knew were coming out. I guess the biggest surprise for me in the conference was Phantom Blade Zero, which they showed at like the very beginning of the conference. Other than that, I mean, we already knew. I mean, some people might say Snake Eater remake, but unfortunately, those were kind of diminished by all the rumors and leaks going out online before the showcase. So, a lot of people kind of already knew that was going to be shown off. But what was going to be shown off, people didn't know, which they really, Konami really didn't show off much of anything for that, other than they're making it, right? That's about it. So, but hey, whatever. So let's go around and see what everybody thinks of the showcase. Shane, what did you think of the Sony showcase?
If this is their E3 conference, I'm pretty disappointed. If it is just a glimpse of the future kind of state of play thing, it's fine. There was nothing that made me ooh and ah. There was a lot of boring for me, and granted, everybody's opinions on games are going to vary. There was a lot of boring. There was a lot. It was a mixed bag of nuts. I don't like nuts, so I like chocolate. The biggest surprise for me, God. The rumor of Metal Gear Solid 3 being remade has been going on for a long time. And then prior to the showcase, it was really really out there. So I wouldn't say I'm surprised by it. I am super happy by it though. 3 is one of my favorite Metal Gears. For me, it's 1, it's 3, it's 4, 2, probably, 5 can just go away. But I was really, really happy with it overall. And probably the biggest jump for me was Dragon's Dogma 2. So happy for it. Love the original game. Loved it. Me and Nick talked all the time about it. I would drag his pawn all over the place. He would take mine, and it was just such a unique twist and a fun game. The first time I climbed up a Cyclops' back and jabbed it out, his eye out, was just freaking a blast. So I really, really enjoyed that game. There was other games that, I'm looking forward to, but nothing that just, blew my mind. The Metal Gear Solid collection, again, granted it's coming out with the first 2 original games. I mean, I've got the collection like everywhere. So if they're going to do anything, are they going to give them an HD upgrade? Or, I mean, what are they going to do with them? I mean, are they just going to be a port? Don't get me wrong, they're still fantastic games. But we've had them before. Phantom Blade Zero looked really cool, and I agree with Pat's thought on it. It was, it definitely has that Elden Ring vibe with some, excuse me, Ghost of Tsushima. But we're just going to have to see. Most of the other games, I couldn't give a score to urine for. Ghost Runner 2, I really like the first one. If you go check out a review, you should. I'm like probably the only one, if I remember correctly, in the group that really liked it. Nick liked it, but Pat and our friend of ours was not as into it as we were. But the game was still fun for some of us. So, that's good. But most of their stuff, I have some interest in. The Plucky Squire, I don't know why, but it looked interesting. Like Nick described, you go from a 2D platform to a 3D. It had kind of a, in some of the video, it had kind of a It Takes Two vibe to it, the way the colors and everything and the gameplay looked. So I've got some hope for that one at least. But the rest of them I couldn't care. We all knew Final Fantasy 16 was coming. Street Fighter, might as well call it Roid Fighter. Jesus Christ, everybody in there was freaking huge. Even Guile's hair's got muscles. It's freaking ridiculous. Beat Saber on PlayStation VR 2, whoop-de-doo. It's a fantastic game, don't get me wrong, but it plays just fine on PlayStation VR 1. So, but, to end it off on my part, Marvel Spider-Man 2, everybody knew it was coming, obviously. I was kind of surprised on how they went with the trailer. The very beginning, it showed you somebody going through a jungle, and it was right when the guy stabbed and I heard the voice. I was like, yep, Craven, I know this game. But they showed off quite a bit. But they surprisingly showed off the Venom suit. Not Venom, Peter and the symbiote juice, Venom nugget, whatever you want to call it. They showed the gameplay with him in that, and the powers you get with it look really cool. I was big fan of the Spider-Man and the Miles Morales. Beautiful games, great story, great play. So I'm pretty pumped for that. But for me, I'm gonna say Dragon's Dogma 2 has got me the most excited. I hope this time it has a true co-op experience. But if they make the pawn system work really well again, which it worked real well, I'll take it. But I really would like more of a true co-op experience. So, but Pat, let's get it to you, Bo. What's your anything on that list made you go, yeah?
No, nothing was that exciting. Nothing's got me going, I need to reserve this like now, or can I reserve this, or do I add it to my list, right? Everything was like, okay, that looks in. There's a lot of stuff that was like, this looks interesting, right? I wouldn't mind checking out the Fair Games as a group, but I'm not sure it's on the top of anything, right? A heist game has got to be, it's got to be like a co-op. It has to be. If it's not, then it ain't worth playing. But I did like the Phantom Blade Zero. Like I said, it looks like Ghost of Tsushima meets, a Souls-like game or an Elden Ring. So I don't know if I'm going to like it if it's that difficult, but we'll have to see. Talos Principle 2. I played the first one. It's a little first-person puzzle game. I like those games like Myst and Riven, and it kind of reminds me of a futuristic version of that. So that was kind of cool. I'm not a big Metal Gear fan, so those games are whatever. I'll try it maybe when the remake comes out, but I'm not super excited for it or stoked for it or anything like that. Same thing that goes for the Alan Wake 2 trailer. I'm like, meh. I wasn't a huge fan of the first one, but these guys are. New Final Fantasy 16 was coming out, but good to see more gameplay trailer. Going to be a massive open world game, it looks like. So I have no desire to play Mirage whatsoever. I mean, it looks like it's going back to its roots a little bit, but I've been there, done that, tired it out, done that. They need a new area. They need to go like feudal Japan or some futuristic or modern day setting. So I'm not a fan of that. Dragon's Dogma 2 is going to be interesting, especially if it's co-op. If it's co-op, then it's going to be awesome. If it's not co-op, then it's going to be a good long. The problem with those games is it's long. It's just going to take you forever to play it. And the way we have to knock out games, it's not conducive to a game like that. So, but it will be all right. And the VR2 stuff, I could care less because I don't have a PSVR 2. So if you have one and you're looking forward to those games, cool. You know, whatever. It's just more chance for Sony to make more money off of Beat Sabers. You know, game they already developed, they just transferred over to the new service and added the functionality to work with the new headsets and everything. So, and the Destiny 2 expansion, you know, they're bringing back Cade. They probably got to do something, right? Because Zavala, they really can't get any more dialogue from Zavala, unfortunately, you know, so they're probably going to have to, you know, unfortunately kill him off in the series or give him a more minor role, you know, and they have to bring Cade back because Ikora isn't a very big part of it. I mean, she's a big part of the game, but she's not as iconic as like Cade and Zavala was. So, you know, it is what it is with that. So the final shape, Marathon, I have no desire to play that. I'm not a PvP person, so that game just doesn't look interesting to me at all. I first saw it, I'm like, oh, cool, this is coming back. And then I saw that it was PvP loot shooter. I'm like, you could take that loot shooter and stick it right up the poop shooter because I don't want it, you know? Everybody's got to do their live service thing, and that's that whole Concord game that Nick was talking about. That's a bunch of Destiny veterans that are pushing this game out. It's another live service FPS game, and I'm like, okay, I don't have room in my repertoire for that. It looks space-ish, sci-fi-ish, but I mean, what else do you expect from people who worked at Destiny? They're going to make something that looks like Destiny, you know, or futuristic sci-fi-ish, you know. For that's what I saw from the trailer. It could be a 180 for all I know. It could not be sci-fi related. Just the trailer had a spaceship in it for some reason, you know. So, and then the Q, don't care. And then I don't know about you guys, but I don't care one lick about their earbuds neither. You know, they're going to be overpriced earbuds.
I forgot about those too. Yeah, and they look like, pardon my language, but they look like shit.
They look kind of bulky and not like very well formed in your ear. They remind me of the very cheap like Anchor ones that used to get, you know, the big old huge bulbous end that sticks in. It's just like a block hanging out of your ear, like somebody stuck a cube on the side of your head, you know. So that's what it looks like. Yeah, I'm just not interested in it.
A little more butt plug than an ear plug.
All right, yeah. So I'm not that interested in that. And besides, I have earbuds that I like, and those just didn't look like it for me. And I wasn't impressed with anything I saw, you know, but I mean, I think they're going to be like under $100 or at $100 or something. I can't remember what they were supposed to be at, but they didn't announce a price, but if they're over $100, they damn sure aren't worth it. You know, with the specs that we've gotten so far, there better be something like triple drivers or something in those darn things when they announce if they're over $100. And then Spider-Man 2, we all know that one, but they gave a little show off at the end. So that game I'm probably looking forward to the most because it's going to be one of the very few in the list that's PlayStation exclusive, right? That's a lot of the stuff they announced is not PlayStation exclusive on this list. So it's like coming to PCs or whatever, something else. So, you know, besides the VR2 stuff, PSVR2 stuff, obviously that's not going anywhere else. I mean, they may have a version on some of the other ones, other VR systems, but like some of this other stuff. So for me, it was just an okay showcase. Nothing really jumped out at me on the list of stuff that was being announced and things like that. I mean, it was really good to see Cade 6 is coming back, you know, so outside of that, you know, I don't play Destiny 2 as much as I used to. So it kind of got this latest expansion kind of got lackluster, and they seem to have gone the wrong direction with this whole Neptunians and stuff like that. So, but that's just me. So for me, the best thing so far looked like that Phantom Blade Zero for me. That's like one of the top things that I want to try, or at least get more information about, you know. That Towers of Agaspa that Nick was talking about looked kind of interesting. It looked pretty. Shows the guy hanging by one of the flying creatures, and there's a giant flying creature below him. Looks pretty cool. And I would be interested in seeing what that's about. It's a survival game, which we tend to, as a group, tend to play those. So prehistoric survival game at that. So we're all going to be running around like, is this going to be Farscape Primal, you know?
Yeah, I looked that game up just now, and yes, I do remember that game now that I looked at it. It reminded me of Tears of the Kingdom because he has the glider and he's going through there, and I just think of like Link holding on to the glider and going through. And
You
I'm
were
like,
playing too much.
I was
too much.
playing too much Tears of the Kingdom.
Yeah, but yeah, I looked. You know, the other that's Far Cry Primal. We're gonna be playing a lot of Far Cry Primal there, right? And Freaky or whatever, that one little guy that always got into trouble in that game. That's gonna be you. You're gonna be him, and he's coming up with all these harebrained schemes in the prehistoric era. So, but yeah, that's it. It was kind of just lackluster for me. It was okay, not the best, not the worst, but decent.
One thing I did notice real quick, Nick, Pat, did you guys also notice that a lot of those, I mean, almost entirely seemed like everything was said 2024. I mean, not a lot was saying, hey, I'm going to be here this year. How you doing? I mean, most everything had that little thing in the bottom corner, 2024.
Well, I mean, a lot of the stuff, if they're just now announcing it, it's way too early, right, to be releasing it. Unless they've been working on it and stealth released it, which that doesn't happen that often. Stealth releases just don't happen that often.
And they don't work that often either. I mean, a lot of people get, oh, cool, but I already have 4 games in my, loadout right now, so can't do it. But yeah, I just noticed that, and I was like, but that gives me hope for 2024. We got a decent list for 23 right now, so just have to see.
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of games. I'm in the same boat. The showcase was okay. It was middle of the road, right? It had some good titles in there that I'm looking forward to, and it had a lot of titles that I don't care about personally. Right. So not everything talked to me that was in there. And like I said, there wasn't really, for me anyway, there wasn't really any like huge hitters in there, right? Like those wow moments that you get when you see the showcase. You're like, oh my God, this is like you never heard of before. Like there were some good games in there. I was like, oh, cool, I want to play that. But there wasn't any title showing off where I'm like, brain heads exploding feeling, and I've had those before with some E3 showcases where they've shown off some games. Not to say that those games end up being all the time great, but in the showcase, in the trailer, they look awesome and you're like super excited for them, right? Not to say that there were games that they showed off that I'm not excited for. That there are plenty that I'm excited for, but nothing that just blew me away, right? That I didn't know was already coming. That's the main thing, right? I'm super excited for Alan Wake. I guess the biggest thing that I didn't know was coming, but it still didn't give me that blown away like moment. Yeah, was Dragon's Dogma 2. I thought Capcom had just like given up on Dragon's Dogma, so I wasn't expecting them to make a second one. That was great to see. I wasn't blown away by it, but it was awesome to see, and I'm excited for it. So I wasn't like, jaw on the floor type thing, but I was like, oh, good. Finally, they finally like listened to like, probably a smaller portion of fans, but I feel like the fans are bigger in Capcom going, please make Dragon's Dogma 2.
Oh yeah. They got my letter.
Right. So finally, like it's been forever. I mean, since the 360, right? Since in PS3, since Dragon's Dogma came out. So finally they're making one. Now they just need to make, which is only for me, is like another Lost Planet. But I'm like the only one that probably cares about that.
I would agree. I really enjoy Lost Planet too. So, but yeah, I'm honestly surprised they put out anything that I want. So,
well, I mean, it's not their Lost Planet, and even I think Dragon's Dogma for them is not their big heavy hitters, right? Resident Evil is, and Resident Evil, and what else? I don't know. They have some other ones. I just can't think. Oh, Street Fighter. Those are and their staples are like their big heavy hitters, whereas Lost Planet and Dragon's Dogma are like their smaller titles that do have a fan base, right? They're just a lot smaller than something like Resident Evil, or something like that. Like there's people like me that love Lost Planet, and I played through all the Lost Planets and would love another Lost Planet, but I'm in a small pool. of people, right? Compared to like Resident Evil, Resident Evil 8, probably everybody played that, right? Just about in the game. So that's something they're going to keep doing and keep making. Whereas these other games that are smaller, they're going to like find time to fit those in if they want to make them again. So, but other than that, this showcase was okay. And the Xbox showcases and the Summer of Gaming are all coming up next. So, with this showcase being kind of mediocre in a sense, I'm wondering how Xbox's showcase is going to be. Is it going to be the same thing? Because Xbox right now really needs to like bring the fire, and if they bring what Sony brought here, because Sony doesn't need to, right? Even though Sony brought just, like, hey, here's a little bit of flame, that's fine because they have heady hitters already out there, right? They have stuff that people are already playing. So they don't really need to like, to bring it. It got brought, it doesn't need to. But Xbox, Microsoft, they do need to do that. They need to bring it. Just like that movie back in the old time.
It's been brought.
It's been brought. They need to bring it because they just need to. If they don't, if with this, with Xbox's conference, if they don't show off thing like some just heavy hitters, some bangers, knock it out of the park type stuff, the future of Xbox is teetering right now because of just the releases of games that have just been mediocre to crap at best on there. And if their showcase that they show off here with Starfield as well as whatever they're showing beforehand just gives a little fizzle to everybody, then then it's not going to help them in the future. So hopefully they bring something that outshines what Sony has showed off so far. But we have that to look forward to, and we'll talk about that as when that comes out, as well as the Summer of Gaming with Jeff Keighley. But any of you guys have anything else you want to say about the PlayStation Showcase?
No, sir.
All right. Well, let us know down in the comments below. What do you guys think? What was your favorite announcement from the PlayStation Showcase? What did you think of the showcase overall? Let us know down in the comments below. What was your favorite game shown off? Let us know. I'd like to know what was your favorite. What are you looking forward to as far as what they showed off there? And also to know, as soon after that, Xbox did put out a tweet about like 12 or what is it? Yeah, 12 games or 8 games or I don't remember. It was something like that. 8 to 12 games that they showed off during the PlayStation Showcase are also coming to Xbox. Even though all the games they showed off just said PlayStation and only PlayStation, about 8 to 12 of them are coming to Xbox as well. So a lot of the games are multi-platform, which we expect. I mean, a lot of those games they showed off, I figured, are multi-platform. But the ones that weren't multi-platform, you could kind of tell they weren't. Like Project or Phantom, the Phantom Zero Blade Zero game is not a multi-platform game. I think it's coming to PC and PlayStation, but not Xbox or anything. So it's multi-platform in the sense it's coming to PC, but it's not coming to any other console. But anyway, let us know down in the comments below what you think. Make sure to like the video. Make sure to subscribe if you're not already subscribed. Do us a favor, then help us out by hitting that subscribe button. Also, you can click on the bell notification to stay up to date with new videos that we do all the time. We'll see you next time.
See ya.